Welcome to the Fast Leader Podcast, where we explore convenient yet effective shortcuts that will help you get ahead and move forward faster by becoming a better leader. And now, here's your host, customer and employee engagement expert and certified emotional intelligence practitioner, Jim Rimbach.
How do you get higher contact center agent performance? It's when customers grade the call and their ratings and comments are used to motivate and coach agents. Uncover hidden secrets and replicate your best agents with the real-time insights from the award-winning external quality monitoring program from Customer Relationship Metrics. Move onward and upward by going to customersgradethecall.com/fast and getting a $7,500 rapid results package for free. Okay, Fast Leader Legion, I'm excited today because I am sharing somebody who really resonated with me in an article that they wrote called The Promise of Positivity. Nate Brown was raised in Seattle, Washington, but has lived all over the Southeast since then. Growing up, Nate specialized in sports that no other kids thought were cool. These included golf, tennis, badminton, and ping pong. Most of his afternoons were spent kicking around a golf course, followed by evenings in the game room. The pinnacle of his youth came when he won a talent show by reenacting Disney's The Lion King on rollerblades. Once the country club dream faded into real life, Nate has been slightly more ambitious. He began working for a safety technology company soon after attending Toccoa Falls College and has been working to make workplaces safer ever since. He has held a variety of roles in the services department of UL Workplace Health and Safety, including customer service representative, migration consultant, training manager, and support manager. As a practitioner, Nate is a sought-after speaker and participates in a larger support community through blogging. He recently led a session on customer effort score and gamification at the ICMI Conference and Expo and is slated to do even more. Nate currently resides in Nashville, Tennessee, where he enjoys disc golfing, fishing, photography, and serving at his local church and spending the most of his valuable time with his two daughters, Aubrey, Kennedy, and his wife, Crystal. Nate Brown, are you ready to help us get over the hump?
Jim, I'm ready. I'm excited.
So am I. I can't wait to talk about this promise of positivity. But for now, excellent. I've given our listeners a little bit about you. But can you share what your current passion is so that we can get to know you even better?
Yeah, no, it really has been photography. The last year, I feel like it's opened up a whole new side of my brain. I've never been an artistic person, but as soon as I got a couple pieces of equipment, it's like I see light and the whole color and just everything differently. I love it.
That's really interesting that you say that. I mean, for me, if I was to turn, for those that don't know, Nate and I are actually looking via video so that we can make a better experience for you as a listener. But if I was able to turn the video camera, Nate would be able to see my video studio. I do some video as well and have dabbled in photography. So I look forward to that. But when you start talking about seeing things a little bit different and opening up a different side of your brain, I mean, what specifically are you referring to?
Yeah, just the artistic quality of everything. I really feel like I get caught up in what's next. What do people expect me to do next? And what am I going to do in an hour? What am I going to do in 2 days? And I definitely struggle to live in the now and to be content in my current situation. And photography has helped me to just see what's there and just to find it beautiful.
Well, that's really interesting. So as you were saying that, I started thinking about it's making you more mindful.
True. Yeah. It's a good way to put it.
Wow. So, and I also, when you started talking about that and what you just shared, and thanks for doing that, is it really connected me back to that whole promise of positivity that I read on your blog. And so I don't think I even mentioned that, but you're the founder and author at the blog customercentricsupport.com. So on that post, you had talked about 5 different things in this promise of positivity, but there was one phrase, and to me, it's really a quote and it's pretty powerful. You said, "Your reaction is the variable." What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, there's so many dynamic things that happen in our offices and in our working relationships. And I feel like there's always going to be a situation where you can feel like you're the victim, but you do not have to do that. And you always have the ability to choose and to choose in a way that's going to edify people, in a way that's going to help people. And that is the variable that's there in any situation.
So when you start talking about those 5 components, and for me, I kind of chuckled with number 5, and number 5 was, I will not harm my coworkers through conversation that tears them down, whether they're there or not.
Bingo. Yeah. It's that whether they're there or not. Like it's one thing to be direct with somebody and have robust communication to their face. It's another thing to, I guess, have the cowardice of not being able to approach the person when there's something that you know that they could do better or something that frustrates you. I mean, you got to deal with that individual. I mean, if you're telling everybody but that one person, you're doing them a huge disservice and you're ruining your own credibility. And I just don't want to be about that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. There was a quote that I heard, gosh, and right now I can't think off the top of my head where the source was, but it was essentially that you're not a loser until you start blaming other people.
That's excellent. Very true.
It is true. And that's one of the things that I keep trying to instill within my kids who are at the moment 12, 10, and 7. And even at the dinner table last night when my 12-year-old daughter started talking about, an athletic situation and talking about one of her teammates in a way that was not positive, I was like, we need to stop right there. Okay. Just stop. And she was like, why? I need to tell you this. I'm like, no, you don't. You're done.
That's good.
So when you start, there was a mentor of mine who also said, or one of his phrases is that you need to create a no moan zone.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And
catchy.
It is very catchy. And so a no moan zone includes a little bit more than just talking about the coworkers. It's just the overall workplace, theme, culture attack, all of those different things. So when you start thinking about, creating this positivity component, this positivity culture, how does one start?
Yeah, it's definitely in your own mind. I mean, for me, this was a commitment to myself that I was going to be a different person and that I was going to stop playing the games that I play with myself and that I was playing with my coworkers. And it was definitely an evolution. It did not happen overnight, but for me, not only doing that for myself, but putting it out there publicly. And I had a lot of great response from that post. I had a lot of people that were saying that they were rooting for me and that they were making their own commitments to positivity as well. And that could look different for everybody, but that brings in a communal accountability that really helped me to know that it was real. And this was a commitment that it was going to stick. And I wrote that post a while ago and it really has. Am I perfect? No. But I can definitely notice a distinct difference between the person I was before writing that and the person that I am today.
Well, one of the things you also mentioned is signing a contract.
Yeah. In our day and age, if you don't put your John Hancock on a piece of paper, we make so many commitments to ourselves in our mind, but sometimes that needs to flow through your hand. And if for nobody else, for yourself, that way you can go back and you can see it. We have this organization that partners with UL. It's called Petra Coaching. And one of the techniques that they do that's so powerful is when they do an executive session with you, they have you make a commitment that's not even specific to business. It's a commitment that you're making to better yourself and then ultimately better every aspect of your life, including business. And they have you put that down on a postcard and sign it. And they actually mail that to you 3 months later with just the question on the front, how are you doing? And it's just such a powerful accountability knowing that you're going to get that postcard and you're going to have to look yourself in the eye and answer that question.
Yeah, that is definitely talking about that accountability piece. And also, it's very inspiring. And one of the things that we focus on the show is leadership quotes because they can do just that.
Yeah.
Do you have a quote or two that kind of stands out for you that inspires you that you can share?
Yeah, no, I do. And this is a John C. Maxwell quote. And I love this, and I'll get into why. But it's true leadership must be for the benefit of the followers, not to enrich the leader. And the reason that I love this quote so much is because you see these great leaders, and I've been fortunate to be around a lot of them. But the first question that I ask when I see somebody with leadership qualities is, what is their motive? What is behind that individual that is causing them to act and behave the way that they are behaving? Because I feel like I've seen and I've been a part of a lot of people with leadership skill that have ultimately proven to be very self-serving. And for me, that's a very sad moment of truth that I've found with certain individuals where I come to understand that they have these great skills and that they're not being applied in a way that's ultimately going to benefit the people around them.
That's
and when I see a leader that I aspire to be, it's not necessarily that person with all the charisma and all the communication skill and that everybody's just rallying behind. It's that person that's leading with authenticity, and that's leading because they're not doing it for themselves. They are actually there committed to the betterment of whatever it is that that group is trying to accomplish. And that's the person that I start to see now as a true leader, rather than the flashy folks that I used to really honor and respect before.
Thanks for sharing that. And one of the things that stood out to me was a discussion that I had with a previous guest who's actually in the Nashville area as well, Jerry Barber.
Yeah, I know Jerry.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And so Jerry talked about kind of not leaving that component to the people to be able to figure out, is that as a leader, you need to actually share what your intent is, share, what your objectives and beliefs are, so that, it doesn't come into question or misinterpretation or, being, presumptuous in any different way. And to me, that was something that just has carried with me. And I've, recommended, Jerry's episode to a lot of folks who are trying to, find their way and excel and move onward and upward faster in regards to leading is concerned. So thanks for sharing that.
That's really interesting. Jerry Barber is absolutely a mentor of mine. We served together on a non-profit board for the HDI Council, and he has been fantastic.
Yeah, good guy. So thanks for sharing that. Okay, so you talked about several different things in regards to the things that you've learned. You were in customer service and support. You went into training, helping a lot of different organizations, doing the public speaking. Well, in order to be able to gain that type of experience and wisdom, we have humps to get over, and because they really teach us some very valuable lessons that we can hopefully share with others. Is there
very true?
Is there a time that you can remember and share it with us when you've had to get over the hump?
Yeah, I might struggle through this a little bit. It was definitely a difficult time. It was when me and my wife had first moved to Nashville, and actually moved here for a job, and have no family here, no support structure that was here. It was literally just this job, and I was essentially fresh out of college, and I really thought that it was a great place, and I thought it was going very well. And it's actually where I learned that I love customer service, and I love being on the customer facing aspect of an organization. Well, as it turned out, it was not going as well as I had thought with a certain individual who was my direct manager. And for several months, he had been building a case against me that ultimately had me removed from the business. And it was an incredibly vulnerable time for me and my young wife. And we were there and just looking around and trying to figure out, should we even stay in Nashville? Should we be here? What is going on? And and as the provider to my family, as a person who really finds a lot of identity, right or wrong, in my job, I felt like I had lost everything. And I never expected that to happen to me in my life, where I was removed out of a position without me actually initiating that. And some of the things that they said when they were terminating me still stick with me. And it was definitely the hump. And basically what they were articulating to me is that I was not special enough, and that I was not good enough at the job, and that I was only average, and that they could not sustain average people in their organization. I mean, it wasn't like something that I did wrong that I knew was a mistake, or like just something that went really poorly. It just, something about what they articulated to me was just such an undermining thing, because they were basically telling me that I was no good, and that I wasn't worth a paycheck to them. And that hurt deeper than anything that I could have imagined at that time. So there was many months after that where I was definitely in a little bit of a state of depression. And luckily I had a best friend, Jim Rich, who I said, Jim, you got to help me just get my mind right and get out of this. Will you come out with me into the woods, and let's just hit the Appalachian Trail for a few days and just help me hit the reset button? And he was gracious enough to do that. And just being out there in God's creation and just having that clarity of mind out there I realized some of the lies that I had been told. And I realized that I did not have to buy into that narrative and that I could go ahead and move forward. And so after that time, I got the call from what would later become UL, and they asked if I would come in and interview for the most frontline customer service position possible. I mean, just on the phones, just being with customers, and remembering that I had realized even in that other job that ultimately ended up being a very bad thing, that I still love the customer. I love customer service, and that I was good at that. And I wanted to prove that to myself and prove that to those around me. So I went in and I interviewed, and absolutely loved the culture of the organization that I saw there immediately. We had people like Allison Everett, who went to my rival high school and wore her letter jacket from my rival high school for my interview, and just some amazing people that were there. And I knew that there was a better place and there was a different place than what I had moved to Nashville for. And that company that I was with was not necessarily a representation of all corporate America. And so I had confidence in that moment that I could come in and that I could change the narrative in my own mind, and that I could make something different. I could make a new legacy that was there. And I just dove into that job. And I just loved the technology. I loved the people. I loved the customer. And through the process of doing that job and doing it well, I got my confidence back. And I started to really excel in that role and just to win. I mean, win for the customer, be that voice of the customer, be somebody that people that were in the organization as an internal stakeholder enjoyed working with, because they knew that I was out to make the customer experience better and that they could trust me and that I was credible for them. And it was only 5 or 6 months into the job where I had a very different reputation than I had in the other organization. And that's something that I've been building on ever since. But for me, that was the hump, was that moment where I was told that I was not good enough, and I bought into that lie. And luckily I was able to make a different narrative.
Wow. Thanks for sharing that story. And I can tell you, for me personally, there are several things that I connected with, because I kind of went through a similar scenario more than once, unfortunately. But I mean, I did, it took me, I can remember, the blues, whether it was depression or not, clinically speaking, I don't know, but you start questioning, worth, value, abilities. I mean, all of those things. And I could say, thank you to Jim, and for all of those Jims out there who, will do what he did, because that's awesome. We need more like that.
Amen.
So I know you talked about, photography. You talked about, of course, the progression at UL, your public speaking, your writing. I mean, and your children, your wife. All of those things, also the work that you're doing at your church, you got a lot of things on your plate. But if you were to say that you had, one goal, what would it be?
To narrow it down to one goal, it would be to further God's kingdom, to make a legacy that ultimately He will be proud of, even beyond my family, which would be the second one. That's what's most important to me.
I appreciate you sharing that. So I know that, you had mentioned, something about, this commitment and this promise of positivity, and the response that you got from that, and how positive it was. Do you have any goal for that?
Any goal to come out of that?
Yes.
Well, that's kind of a tricky question, because that is a never-ending evolution of maturity for me. I mean, the goal is just to always get better. I mean, that is the goal. And I don't think that there's a finish line to that goal, but I do want to consistently reassess, how am I doing? How am I maturing? And to raise that bar for myself on a consistent basis. And one of the things that I do for myself to make sure that is happening is I try to get out on at least a couple times a year where I get back out in the woods, get out in creation, and I have an opportunity to think through the lens of everybody except myself. What am I doing? What are the type of relationships that I have right now? Are they edifying? Are they helpful? Am I turning people away? Am I being too selfish? And the very best that I can, I try to look at me through everyone else's eyes. and I look and see if I'm accomplishing the objective of being that leader that John Maxwell is talking about, the one that's not there to further me, but I'm there to further the causes that I believe in. And I've got several, as you just mentioned. I honestly believe that my organization has an incredible mission to keep people safe. And nobody does that like UL. And I have bought into that, and I am trying to make that happen in my own special way.
And the Fast Leader Legion wishes you the very best. Now, before we move on, let's get a quick word from our sponsor. An Even Better Place to Work is an easy-to-use solution that gives you a continuous diagnostic on employee engagement along with integrated activities that will improve employee engagement and leadership skills in everyone. Using this award-winning solution is guaranteed to create motivated, productive, and loyal employees who have great work relationships with their colleagues and your customers. To learn more about an Even Better Place to Work, visit beyondmorale.com/better. All right, here we go, Fast Leader Legion. It's time for the Hump Day Hoedown. Okay, Nate, the Hump Day Hoedown is the part of our show where you give us good insights fast. So I'm going to ask you several questions, and your job is to give us robust yet rapid responses that are going to help us move onward and upward faster. Nate Brown, are you ready to hoedown?
I am.
All right. So what do you think is holding you back from being an even better leader today?
Fear. Absolutely. Fear.
What is the best leadership advice you have ever received?
Find laser focus.
What is one of your secrets that you believe contributes to your success?
I would say authenticity.
What do you feel is one of your best tools that helps you lead in business or life?
Interpersonal and communication skill.
What would be one book, and it could be from any genre, that you'd recommend to our listeners?
Leading Change by John Coulter.
Okay, Fast Leader listeners, you can find links to that and other bonus information from today's show by going to fastleader.net/Nate Brown. Okay, Nate, this is my last Hump Day Hoedown question. Imagine you were given the opportunity to go back to the age of 25, and you've been given the opportunity to take the knowledge and skills that you have now back with you, but you can't take everything. You can only choose one. So what one skill or piece of knowledge would you take back with you, and why?
That's a great question. I think that I would choose contentment. And I don't have a great answer of why, other than, I mean, if you can live in that moment and be satisfied with the life and the opportunities you've been given, then you're going to make things work out, and you're ultimately going to make yourself and those around you happier.
Nate, it was an honor to spend time with you today. Can you please share with the Fast Leader listeners how they can connect with you?
Yeah, no, I would love to connect with everybody on Twitter. My handle is customerisfirst on Twitter. And then if you connect with me on Instagram, my photography, one of my projects I'm doing right now is trying to creatively document silly holidays. So my Instagram is TFCDawg, DAWG, and I find ways to celebrate silly holidays. So you can find me on Instagram or Twitter.
Nate Brown, thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom. The Fast Leader Legion honors you and thanks you for helping us get over the hump. Woo-hoo! Thank you for joining me on the Fast Leader Show today. For recaps, links from every show, special offers, and access to download and subscribe, if you haven't already, head on over to fastleader.net so we can help you move onward and upward faster.